What a mess. All I can say is, what a mess. How's it going, guys? We're working on this 1970 Johnson Skee Horse. Trying to get her finished here. Here's the engine model. This is a 225-E. It's a 25 horse. Points and condenser ignition, not a CDI like they used later on the 74s. I think they started that 73, 74 era. Got some new parts. I left them out there, but you may notice a little problem here. Yeah, I'm out of propane, which sucks. It was below zero last week. I mean, Sunday night, so that was yesterday, last night, or the night before, excuse me, today's Tuesday. Today's Monday. Saturday night, there we go, Saturday night was -2 was the actual temperature. So, needless to say, I did not get stuff done. I had hoped to have this machine ready for that Mackinac Bridge ride that you probably saw. I took the Bobcat SS across the Mackinac Bridge, which, for those who don't know, the Mackinac Bridge at one point was the world's largest suspension bridge. I think it is one of the largest in the U.S. for sure, spanning a 5-mile stretch of water, and nothing but cars, trucks, and semis are allowed across it normally. So that's why it was kind of a big deal. Like I said, I'd hoped to have this one done, but it just wasn't in the cards. I ran out of time. But we have a snowmobile show coming up this weekend. I've only got a couple more things to do, assuming this monster fires. I should be golden. I hope. Hope and I pray. Recapping, we got to finish our fuel lines, so we have to go. Make sure you guys are still in focus. We have to go from here through this little hole, weasel our way around to the fitting on the tank, the big fitting there, which I put a new pickup tube inside the tank and a check valve, so once fuel gets sucked up, it won't go back down, at least right away. And we also have to put this where'd it go? Oh, oops, this T fitting in for the primer. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Yeah, I have to install a new primer fitting. Yeah, you can't see it. It's down there because the old fitting busted off, of course. I also got a new rectifier down there and a new, what they call it, a circuit breaker. It all has to do with regulating the voltage and everything for the electric start and the lights. The battery's in the house charging. Excuse me. So fuel lines, finish that electrical. Reinstall the dash and hook up all the cables. Probably hook up all the cables and then reinstall the dash. The fuel tank. A couple odds and ends there in the back. There's a bumper, a light, and I think that's it. Bumper, a light, maybe something else. Oh, and a little hoop that comes down for a warm-up stand, they call it. Just add extra thing. And then the final crown is the hood, which is out there. and the seat, which is way up there. So that's where we're at. Let me go get my box of parts. Thankfully, it's about 37 degrees out here today, so it's not so bad to work compared to a couple weeks ago. Whew, got cold in here. It's still cold in here, but it's not that bad. So let me grab my parts and we'll get to her. Okie dokie. Here is what we have. A good used rectifier. The reason I'm replacing this is because on mine the paddles are loose inside there. What the heck is this? Circuit breaker. I bet you this is the circuit breaker. This feels like it's heavy. Here's our new primer. Check. Valve thingamabobble. And these little monsters, I forgot to mention about the exhaust. I have to crawl down here and OMC in their brilliant wisdom came up with a solution to quiet these machines down. Anybody that has ever ridden or been around one of these machines knows that they are loud stock. They are loud stock. Some people put big megaphones on the exhaust, which is, it looks cool, but these critters are loud, let me tell you. So what OMC did, I don't know where it is right off. Oh, here it is. Just a minute. I gotta unbury it. To answer the call to quiet their machines down. Oops. Oh, bats. They stuck this plate over the exhaust. I kid you not, that's what they did. So, because the exhaust hole itself is about this big around. So what you gotta do is you gotta have this little donut. And not in this particular order per se, and that clip that's on the floor over there, and this plate all screwed on there to quiet it down. So I forgot about that until just now. So there we have it. Let's get started with the electrical. Alright, well, I don't know how clear we're going to see this, but here's the whole assembly. There's the rectifier right there. That's the new one. Here's the old one. The reason I'm replacing it is because, you know, it may not be bad. I have to test it yet. But, where is it? Yeah, that's really loose. Chances are good that this is probably shot. Besides a lot of rust back here. This one is, like I said, used, but still good. Okay. According to the wiring diagram, I need to have the pink from the rectifier and an orange from the harness on one. And the other side goes to the battery via the solenoid. So there we go. Perfect. Let's tighten her down. Well, here's the progress. I got the electrical stuff in down there. Got some fuel lines routed, as you can see. I tightened this little critter down. I was getting ready to put the dash in when I figured, you know, I should probably check this monster for spark. And Mr. Murphy is sitting right over here. He must be, because I don't have spark. So tomorrow, because it's getting late now and I'm cold, this comes off, this comes off, this comes off, everything in there comes off, so we can get to the condenser and the points. Nothing like going backwards. So, here we go. See y'all tomorrow. Okay, it's day 2. As you can see, I got some more propane. I unfortunately had to buy a brand new tank because the old one was past the certification date, which I didn't realize. I thought the thing was like brand new. But what do you want for a free full propane tank? So, $100 and some bucks later, here we are. So, getting back to this issue. I hooked up the ignition, kind of cobbled it together real quick, and stupid camera. I hooked up the ignition and cobbled it together, grounded everything real quick. See if I had spark, and I do not. So, I have a good condenser here. It's an old one, but I know it's still good. So I gotta take all this crap off, which sucks. But that's what you gotta do. So here we go. Disassembly mode 3.0. Supposed to have specialized tools. I really want to do this quick and dirty. This is not recommended. It's not recommended you do what I just did. Thankfully, I just had this off. Okay, here's the monster we want to change. And while we're at it, I'm going to double check the points, because they are opening. But how much? Are they opening enough? So we're going to double check that too. Clean them real quick. I found some more sandpaper. And try it again. But this time I'm not going to put everything back together until I get spark. So, here we go. Okay, I may have found our problem. However, I have no scientific basis except to put it in and try it. The condenser, or as some people call it, a capacitor, on the left is the one that we know is good. It was tested, it's just old, which is why I replaced it from the Bobcat SS. The one on the right is the one that was in this machine. You can see that the top of it is slightly domed. The one on the right, you can see a little bit more of the pink. I don't have a level surface to put these on. Then the one on the left. The one on the left is flat. The top of the condenser is flat. Usually if these things starting are going, the top of them is domed. It's rounded, or whatever you want to call it. Trying to get a better view here for you guys. So, that might be our issue. I don't know. We're going to throw the one on the left in. It's the same exact one. I compared the numbers on the bottom. 580 something something something. That's the old number, old part number. And again, we're going to check the points, which are right there, and go from there. Okay, so I have the new condenser in. I checked the points. They were perfect. That was not the issue. I did clean them real quick. Make sure we're good there. We have our ignition still ignitionized. Let's see. If I could do this without zapping myself, that would be the greatest thing in the world. I don't know if you're seeing that or not, but we got spark on one. Let's check the other. Okay, I just switched the plugs around real quick, or the wires. So this would be for the front cylinder. I don't know, are you seeing that? I hope so. Yeah, you get the point. So, it must have been a bad condenser. Well, let's get this thing back together. Tonight on Snowmobile's Most Wanted update, we have the recoil, the ratchet, the flywheel, and the housing all back on. More at 11. Okay, so we have the fuel lines, the primer line put back on. I have the new fitting in there installed. Hopefully it's good to go. We still have spark after I put everything back together, which is phenomenal. So my next step is to move all my tools and crap. I also have the spark plug in, gapped to the appropriate gappage, whatever it was, I don't even remember. Gap to the appropriate gap of thousandths. And we're getting ready to move our crap and put the dashboard on. And start hooking all that business up. So, that being said, see you in a minute. Okie dokie, here we are. The dash is completely installed. The choke cable is hooked up. I didn't test it yet, but there we go. Working. Got my wiring loom kind of figured out. I have page open to the wiring diagram. So all I have to do is sort out this rat's nest of wires. Then we're going to check once again, make sure we still have spark, and if so, we're going to route some fuel lines and finish hooking everything up on the other side, and we are home free. Oh, I got to find a throttle cable too. That might help, wouldn't it? Hopefully there's one on the floor over there somewhere. Okay, it is the next day. I had a bit of a stomach issue this morning, so I didn't get out of here till about 3 o'clock. I mean, I didn't get out here till 3 o'clock. I still don't think I'm over it, but nothing a little bit of two-stroke therapy won't cure, right? I had an issue with the old ignition switch there as I was wiring everything up. I don't remember what I got on tape. But there's, that's the back and the springs from it. The contact plate. So I went and bought a new one yesterday. No big deal. Aftermarket. I threw it in, and I had no spark. Go figure. well, I was twisting wires around and stuff, and twisting the key, making sure it was right and everything, and finally I got spark. And I checked the key on the new ignition, and the key was in the off position. Okay. So I tried just for fun, turning the key in the on position, and I had no spark. So, I played with grounds, I played with all kinds of stuff. Finally, what I came up with this morning is I'm going to put the old ignition in as a dummy, and here is the new ignition with ground and everything wired as appropriately as it's supposed to be. Excuse me. Wired in the wired so that when the key is in the off position, the system is hot, and when the key is in the on position, the system is dead. So what I'm going to do is we'll just keep the key off to run it, and while we're driving around, vroom, 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 you don't know anything different. And when you want to go to shut her off, all you do is open this up, turn the key. Done. I think for this weekend it'll be fine. I hope. So, that's sorted out. I put a new little extension wire in for this, which came out of there. It broke, and I wasn't going to screw around with it anymore. So at this point, I'm going to get the fuel tank in and get these lines finished, and then I got to move back to the other side and finish wiring some of that stuff up. And we're just about ready to give it a test fire. I still got to put that exhaust piece on, and that won't take long. And, of course, I got the heater going. So, yeah, moving right along. I do have some gas in that tank now, the green one down there, so hopefully this monster will fire right up. So, okay, it's a little update. Come back on later. Okay, it's day 3. I now have the fuel lines sort of primed. Get a little more prime going, so to speak. There we go. I don't want this motor, if it's going to run, I don't want it to keep running, so that's why I've disconnected the fuel line. So let's see if this beast will fire up for us. Should hopefully make sure my ignition is in the off position. That's affirm. Throttle here. They like to run with some throttle. There we go. Okay, so remember what I was telling you about the exhaust on these monsters being massive? Let's go check it out. I don't know how well you can see it, but there is the exhaust pipe outlet for this monster. So that's why they created that plate that goes over this whole thing to muffle it, I guess. So we're going to stick that on there right now. And keep moving. So here we go. See if the old shark will fire up here. I need something to stand out against. There we go. There it goes.